Are you tired of feeling overwhelmed and isolated about what you should be doing financially? If staying in the same position has you missing out on the most important things, like eating breakfast with your kids, you're not going to want to miss our upcoming Inner Circle Live event.
Russ, when people come to our event, they're going to pick up their very first domino. Let me explain what I mean. They're going to figure out who they are as an investor. They're going to gain access to 6 different passive income opportunities and the experts bringing it to them. And they're going to be able to put it on autopilot.
Right now, go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/live and don't forget the discount code PICAST. Welcome into the Financial Freedom Roundtable, where each week we break down complex financial topics so that you can easily understand them and, more importantly, take action on your path to becoming financially free. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. Grateful to have you in the room. I'm Russ Morgan, to call me the idea guy, mostly because bad internet guy didn't sound so cool to me. But enough about me for a moment. Let me introduce you to my co-host, my partner. He's the Italian Stallion. He's got the license plate cover to prove it. Mr. Joey Murray. Stallion, good afternoon.
What's up, my brother?
Man, you know what's up is inflation. You know what I hope is going down is taxes. And that's the topic of today, that this will save you taxes.
Man, could not agree with you more. And that's why this is important today, right? If you can rightfully, legally save more of that money that you have earned, what could it mean for you, right? It's a double opportunity. I have to pay less and I then can invest more. How can I get the passive income greater than monthly expenses as fast as possible? That's why these types of conversations are important.
Every day is tax day, right? Every day is tax day. If we're doing the job that we're supposed to do, meaning that we're working hard, we're creating assets to produce passive income, we're creating income streams that far exceed our monthly expenses. That's our job. That's our goal. But if we are not figuring out how to minimize, reduce, eliminate taxes, then we're working too hard, right? We're working Russ hard. I want to work Joey hard. Like, I want to sit around and enjoy life. I want to see things from the seat of the couch. I don't want to be on this stinking treadmill. That's why this is important, Stallion. No, I can't just continue to just beat you up the whole day. I got to get around.
You can, and you probably will. So let's keep rocking.
We got to get around the table, man. We got to bring in the dream team of financial coaches and get their insights on what will save you taxes, or the title, I guess, is This Will Save You Taxes. We'll hear their thoughts. To my left, I got Mr. Incredible. His superpower is speed to financial freedom, and the real beauty to that speed is it's contagious. My man, Mr. JD Hill. Say hello to your fans, JD.
Hey, fans. There we are. Jamie, thank you.
Gotcha.
Russ, I'm glad to be here. I'm wearing my Wealth Without Wall Street shirt. It's only one of 2 that I have because y'all keep withholding all the kit from me. But that's okay. I am repping the gear. And I'm excited to be here because nothing brings me more joy than to talk about Uncle Sugar.
Yeah. Tell me.
You know who Uncle Sugar is, right?
I do, but let's bring everybody else into the loop.
Uncle Sugar is the IRS. Okay, that is the government, and they are not here to help you. And so if you want to know why I think this is important, Russ, have you ever heard the expression, it's not how much you make, but how much you keep that matters? You ever heard that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's important that we have this conversation because when was the last time you or the folks that are listening today really looked to see how much money Uncle Sugar was stealing from you and what you could do about it?
My guess is most people looked at the tax return or the bill that their accountant told them to pay, and they went pissed. That's about it.
That's right. And they kind of threw their hands up and asked their CPA, was there anything I can do about it? And their CPA said, this is the best you got. And that's it.
Is it?
It's not. There's good news, and we're going to give you the good news.
All right. Well, good. I'm excited about the good news. And by the way, the reason we limit the kit that you get, because then you'd have to start reporting it as income, and then that would raise your tax bill, bro. Come on.
There's a limit. Helping people. There's people helping people around here.
Just Joey and I looking out for you, my friend.
I bet that's what it is.
All right, let's get around to your right. I got the king of Beham, Mr. Real Estate. He's agnostic to his type as long as it produces cash flow. The multi-talented Jamie O'Brien. Good to see you, Jamie.
Man, good to be here, Russ. Just enjoying another day in paradise, my friend.
This will save you taxes. And the rest is, from your opinion, important. Why?
Well, I mean, I've got a simple brain. I'm going to keep it simple. It's almost November. We're at the end of the year. We should have been thinking about this all year, but we probably weren't, just to your point, right? So what better time to either, one, start thinking about it for this year and next year, or two, get your financial house in order. Really try to figure out now, before we get to the end of the year, if you have any options to try and lower that tax bill before the end of the year.
All right. Well, if you're excited about learning different systems, things that we've learned and maybe even had to unlearn about ways to save in taxes, as well as maybe a system or a plan that we're implementing personally and some of the benefits that's given us, then jump in with us right now.
Welcome to the Wealth Without Wall Street podcast, your guide to understanding how to get out of the Wall Street rat race and start your own mailbox money lifestyle. Now, don't let these handsome Southern draws fool you. These financial minds are teaching our country to enhance savings, increase cash flow, and create passive income, all without the help of Wall Street. Are you ready to break through? Now here are your hosts, Russ Morgan and Joey Murray.
All right, gentlemen, I need you to raise your right hand as we enter into this discussion around taxes, and this will save you taxes. The first thing we have to do is ensure to give everyone the disclaimer that we are not CPAs. Are we?
No, I'm not.
And we are not going to give tax advice, are we?
No.
No CPA.
Anything that we say as it relates to taxes, you should, you absolutely need to go talk to somebody and see if it applies to your situation. Just because it works for Joey or JD or Jamie does not mean it will work for you, correct?
Yes.
Amen.
100.
All right, disclosure done. Attorneys, beware. Joey, I want to start with you because you're the first student in the room here. When we were talking about different things, I was sharing things that I was doing personally and why I wasn't doing certain things. I would love to know one thing that you either had to learn or unlearn as it related to things that could save you or reduce your tax bill.
The most obvious thing to me, Russ, was understanding the truth behind qualified plans. At the time, I was a high income earner, active income only, and it was commission-based income. And the only thing that I knew was put money away in your 401k or IRAs. And that is the way I could reduce my taxable income. In fact, put it on autopilot. That's a benefit to you, right? It gets pulled out of every paycheck. It'll defer taxes. Like, that's as good as saving them, isn't it? Wrong, right? That was something I learned, right? Deferred taxes are not a benefit to me. They're a benefit to Uncle Sugar. Thank you, JD, for that.
Come on, you bet.
And the second thing was, it was really just like this idea that that's the only option. Like Wall Street was my only option for building wealth. And once I realized it was just locking up my money, it was saving me taxes today to charge me more in the future. I was like, this is the biggest scam ever. And then you add that to the fact that it will never help me get to financial freedom. Like, I'm out. That's all I need. I mean, taxes were a part of that conversation. And man, I think once you see it for what it truly is, it is not for those seeking financial freedom today.
I mean, look, there's a CPA right now just telling someone, stallion, a mini stallion, little Italian stallion, you can take up to 25% of your compensation, not to exceed $66,000, and put it in your SEP IRA right now. Like, just go ahead and move it over there, and your tax bracket's going to go down. You're going to pay less in taxes. There's somebody telling you right now to do that. And what you're saying is that that tax deferral is not a tax savings. It's merely a deferral. And they're going to also defer what? The tax calculation.
Exactly.
And that's the interesting part, is that most people don't do the math on what will Uncle Sugar need in the future, right? We all understand what happens with sugar, right? A moment on the lips, lifetime on the hips.
Camo.
Sugar get big, right? He's more. So we better be careful. Okay. How about you, Jamie? Tell me one thing that you had to learn or unlearn around reducing or minimizing taxes.
Yeah, I mean, I had to unlearn, I think, a misconception out there. And I think there's a lot of great CPAs. There's a lot of great people that mean the right thing. But I think most people fall into a nice, neat, tidy box when you're coming and bringing your taxes to a CPA. And you really have to take accountability for your own financial future, right? I remember I went and was starting my real estate company, had a couple good years and making some income and trying to figure out how that was going to affect me. And my CPA was like, well, you got the income, you're in real estate, go buy a truck. And I was like, well, I don't really need a truck. You know, why would I go buy a truck? Right? Isn't that just adding an unnecessary expense, spending money to spend money? But he's like, yeah, but it's going to lower your tax bill. You can write it off. You're in real estate. You got the purpose. And it just never really sat well with me. And so what I've kind of learned is once I started bringing ideas to him, then it opened the conversation. It's like, okay, you've done your research. We can start to have a bigger conversation about what we're trying to do.
That's so good. What about for you, JD? What was something that you had to learn or unlearn to reduce the tax?
You ever heard the expression, what got you here won't get you there? You ever heard that before? And so what I had to learn was who were the who's that I should be following or getting in the room with based on where my income was going, right? Who were the people that I needed to start getting into the room with, getting in community with, and start figuring out what they were doing, because they were they'd already solved the problems that I was trying to solve for myself. And it opened up this new world of education for me that I never would have gotten anywhere else if it wasn't for being able to get into the room with those types of people. Because that was something that I had to learn, was who are those folks that have already accomplished it, that have already done it, that have already solved the tax problem. And what I learned, this is actually really powerful for me, is I learned that there's actually different types of income. You've got capital gains income, short-term capital gains, long-term capital gains. You've got W-2 income. You've got 1099 income. All of these different incomes require different types of tax planning. And I didn't know that. I just thought all income was treated equally. It's not, right? And so what might work for you, Russ, may not work for Jamie from a tax planning standpoint. This is why following other people's tax advice is not a good idea, because your income may not be the same income that they have. And so that was something that was super powerful for me, was learning who are those folks I need to be around, and then what type of income do I have, because that's going to dictate the tax strategy that I need to be implementing.
No, that's so good. I mean, I was on a call earlier today with an attorney kind of tax strategy group, and he was covering those exact things, right? He was saying, like, there's a lot of strategies out there. There's a lot of products. There's a lot of tools that can be used, but do they work for you? That's a hard thing. And one of the things that he was sharing with me, I thought was really fascinating. I'll give this insight here. As business owners, we run our businesses with these KPIs, right? These key performing indexes. And you're running a business, you're tracking sales, you're tracking expenses, right? You're tracking growth, whatever. And he's like, but are we doing that in all of our areas, especially taxes? Like, are we measuring on every investment choice that we make what our tax efficiency is for that specific investment? Do we have a goal in mind? And do we run everything through a filter to see how it measures up, right? If you had 100 deals that you were doing, do you run it through, okay, this is how much return I get, right? This is how much cash flow I get. This is what my, maybe my exit's going to be. But are we also measuring the tax efficiency of it? And does that measurement, if you track that KPI, does it impact the decisions you make? And so many times, right, we talk about being overwhelmed with the number of things to learn. And for some of us who's been in the financial industry, like you and I, JD, there's a lot of things we have to unlearn, right? Because we were professionally trained to tell Jamie and Joey this garbage, right?
That's right.
Like we were brainwashed to tell them those things. But when you don't know what those key performing indexes are, indicators are for you, then you don't know how well each thing you're doing and decision you're making impacts another. I love all of those things. Well, I would love to go into kind of our second point, which is what's the one strategy that you're executing on, and what are those key insights, those key learnings around it? Because our systems are so important. We were in Denver, and Justin Roethlisberger was shared this quote. I love this quote. He said that we do not rise to the level of our goals, right? All of us have this aspiration to be financially free. All of us have an aspiration to pay as little in taxes, for instance. We don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems, right? And our outcomes are determined based upon what we're doing intentionally. So I want to talk about systems and plans. So Jamie, I'm going to come to you first. Tell me, what is a strategy that you're executing on, and what were some of those key insights and learnings that you gained around it that the person listening to you right now could take away?
Yeah. So one thing that I'm executing on currently and this year was getting my house in order. When I say that, I mean my business structures to take advantage of different tax advantages, right? And so currently setting up just set up an S corporation for a couple of reasons, right? One of the reasons was so I could control the income coming myself, and to stop paying so much in self-employment tax and whatever. But then I started to learn about this thing called the 199A, where you could take a deduction off your qualified business income. Now, I'm no expert on this. I don't want to pretend to be the expert. And this will be an ongoing conversation with my tax planning team and my CPA. But from what I understand of it, now I'm able to potentially deduct more from my qualified business income than maybe I could have saved, just from trying to save payroll tax and other, and self-employment tax. And so digging deeper into that conversation is going to be huge. And I think having the right team around you to help with that conversation is going to be huge. And so that's something I'm currently working on and will continue to be working on through the end of the year into next year.
No, you're so right. Entity structure is a lot of the framework. Like Joey, when you and I go out and play golf, the reason I'm so much better than you, right? So much better than you is all of those lessons that I took, right? And the thing about it is that he couldn't fix my bad swing, but what he did is he got me in the right position. And if you ever see me on a golf course, you look at me, you're like, that dude knows what he's doing. Just look at him. And then you see Joey, you're like, that dude has no clue. Because 80% of the result is in the positioning, is getting yourself in the right placement. And I think entity structure is the same exact thing, man. I mean, that's why I hit the ball so much further than you, Joe.
Well, when you stand directly 90 degrees to the right, that duck hook goes straight down the middle. I mean, just straight down the middle of the fairway. So you're right.
This is so good. All right. So I'm going to come to you. I want to understand what strategy that you're executed on right now that is helping. And also, what are some of the, more importantly, what are the key insights or learnings that you've had around it?
Well, I'll tell you this. As soon as my tax planning group told me that there was such a thing as the Augusta rule, I was sold. I didn't even care what it was. I mean, the only sports I watch all year long is the Masters. And so as soon as I knew there were some jokers at Augusta that created a way to save on taxes, I was like, let's go. Let's do this thing. And so ultimately, if you're not familiar with the Augusta rule, it's a way in which you can rent your primary residence or any residence that you own up to 14 days per year from your your business can rent it from you personally. Okay. When you do that, you're able to deduct that cost from your business and not claim it as income personally. So it is a great way to save on taxes. And but the learning that I have around this is not that you can, rent your house for 14 days, but that you, as long as you do it the proper way, you can maximize and optimize it. Let me just explain what I mean. There's other people I've heard that are out there, these gurus that get on, YouTube or on Instagram, whatever. They're talking about, oh, rent your house. But they're doing it based off of, if I were to rent an Airbnb on a nightly rate, right? Like, so let's say that my house, for instance, would rent for $400 or $500 a night, maybe $350, whatever the case may be here in Helena. I mean, I'm out in the middle of nowhere, not close to any major, area. And so I wouldn't be really going to all this trouble to save $300 a night 14 times a year. Like that's not a whole lot of, juice isn't worth the squeeze, so to speak. But whenever I got a commercial appraiser to go out and compare my home to other venues, commercial venues in the area, that is the situation that you're comparing to. So the big learning was compare your property to like spaces and uses. And then the second thing I learned is you're able to document this like a boss, because some people get scared of doing this because they don't understand the documentation process, and they're like, oh, well, you could get nailed on this on an audit or whatever. But the truth of the matter is, if you document it according to the rules, right, have at least 4 people in these meetings, you have them for at least a 4-hour time frame, including cleanup and setup, and all these sort of things, then there's nothing that dictates to me as a business owner what space I rent. And so there's, as much as the IRS may not want me to do that, I have the full autonomy to be able to do that. And by the way, I'll tell you more details later as to how it's benefited our business for me to actually rent my house for our business. So it's huge. I love it.
If you've listened to our show for any length of time, you've heard us talk about infinite banking and how we are able to use that concept to create over $50,000 a month in passive income. But it's just not that easy to figure out, how does this all connect into my own personal system?
Stallion, that's why we created the passive income operating system, bro. It shows you how to turn active income into passive income. It makes all the steps come together. If you would like to get access to it as a podcast listener, we've never given this away in public before, go to what'swhatwallstreet.com/PIOS. There was nothing worse than walking into class when you're in school and the teacher saying, pop quiz day. Why? Because you were unprepared. Are you unprepared though for financial freedom?
Don't be. Find out how close you are by taking our 30-second quiz at wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/quiz.
I love the fact that you could do it, as you said, for anything that has a cooking space, a bedroom, a bathroom, right? So this applies, I've been told, from our CPAs for RVs, like Cousin Eddie, right? It applies to boats. I haven't even created a name, but I don't have a boat with all those things yet. Lake homes, beach homes, mountain homes, like, hey, it's basically an excuse, JD, to go figure out a way to buy new things. No, that's not true. But if you have multiple, then you may be able to use this in separate places. JD, what's the one strategy that you're executing on right now, and what's a key insight or learning around it?
The first, going back to what I'd mentioned before, is actually learning what type of income that I have. From long-term capital gains to short-term capital gains to 1099 to active income to passive income to W-2 income. Like, all these different incomes require a different type of strategy. And so, for example, I'll give you one from last year. One of the things that we implemented was a conservation easement. Please don't do these, by the way. They're heavily audited. I'll never do another one again, but I needed it for last year. Okay. But this was great because of the nature of the way that I got this deduction. So I put $1 in, and that deduction gave me $5 worth of deduction from my active income. Okay, so $50,000 or say $100,000 contribution eliminates $500,000 off of my active income. That's a massive deal, right? It's a significant tax savings. So when you compare that to, say, something like putting money into a SEP IRA, right? If I put 60 grand into a SEP IRA, then that's a very, it's a dollar for dollar basically, reduction from my income versus something like a syndicated conservation easement, which is what I did last year. Something else that I've also done, which is really helpful, is recognizing what type of active participation that you need in order to get enhanced type of deduction. So for example, becoming a real estate professional. Becoming a real estate professional is also really valuable for me because it actually changed my short-term capital gains to active income. So the flips that I did last year, short-term capital gains is taxed like ordinary income or active income, but it's considered short-term capital gains, which has different types of tax treatment. But because I was a real estate professional, I got to change that from short-term capital gains to active income, which gave me the ability to have different deductions for that type of income. And so once you understand and can get your arms around these different types of incomes, it really, really helps you start to narrow your focus into what types of tax strategies you should really be implementing.
So, I mean, I think the insight I'm taking away from that is that I need to become a real estate professional.
You absolutely need to become a real estate professional.
That goes against everything that I believe in, man. I'm teasing. That's for my good friend Sharon, who runs one of the fastest growing publicly traded real estate companies, Real. This is, as Sharon says, an anti-sponsor. They didn't pay me to say that. No, I love that. I mean, there's the key is that we have to have a system. We have to have a strategy that we're implementing. It doesn't matter if you're paying kids and you've built an approach where you're able to teach them how to make money while also pay for their expenses that they have, right? Our kids have very expensive activities. I mean, I love it whenever I'm sitting at a soccer game or I'm sitting at a swim meet and one of the parents is like, my kids, they're going to get a scholarship. They're going to get a scholarship. They'll be playing in college. You just watch next year, the year after that. And I'm like, they're already playing in college and you're paying for the scholarship as we sit here in a different city after we just got sleeping in the 5-star hotel. Like, I mean, like they better get a scholarship. You've already paid for it. I mean, like, come on, man. So if we're going to pay for it, let's still pay for it with our income tax bracket, right? Let's pay our kids, get them involved, show them how to start making money, hopefully making money fun and teaching them along the way. But also at the same time, when we're teaching them how this works, we're like, okay, good. This is what you do. You work for money, you make money, you get some money in, and then you pay for the things you want. You wanted to swim. You want to be on a swim team. You wanted to go to Chattanooga for this event. You wanted to stay in this nice hotel. I know you did, but I don't stay in a hotel that's not nice. That's where we're using your money, right? Like there's a system that we're able to use. All those things. There's lots of opportunity. All right, let's get into our third point. So we've covered things that we have to learn or unlearn in order to minimize our taxes. Secondly, we talked about what systems or plans and the key insights around those that are helping us. But as we're running down the road right now, we want to know the so what. We want to see, what did this all equal? And Joey, you said, let me tell you how utilizing this thing called the Augusta Rule has even benefited not only my personal savings and tax savings, but also benefited my business. Tell me more about that.
Yeah. So as you probably already know, Russ and I and our whole team is 100% remote. And we actually made that decision a couple years ago, basically on the heels of COVID. Everybody was like, hey, I just really like working from home. But we knew that there was an element of that would lose some of the connection point for our team. And so it was just like a perfect solution for Russ and I to host our team in our homes every couple of weeks. So one month or one of our weekly meetings we do at my house in a month, and one of them we do at his house in a month. And it allows us to have a touch point, allows us to have an in-person for anybody who's local. Obviously, our team is all over the country, but there are a number of people here in Birmingham. And so we're able to spend time with people face-to-face as a result of this. And the second part of that is, as you mentioned, it was just pure benefit from a tax standpoint. My house is only able to write off $1,500 per meeting, whereas Russ, I know yours is actually more because where yours is located is in a different kind of a commercial district with higher rental rates. And so for me, it ranges probably between $7,000 and $10,000 worth of actual tax savings per year for me to have that connection point with our team. So I'm grateful for it for both of those reasons.
Well, and what you're doing, bro, is you're taking a liability. Our primary homes are liabilities. Let's just face it, right?
Absolutely.
They're a lifestyle liability. It's something that we enjoy. You drive a nice car, it's a liability. But it's a lifestyle. You live in a house, wherever it is, no matter how nice or not. It's a lifestyle choice that you're making, but it's a liability. Whenever you're able to do what you're doing, and anyone who's utilizing this IRS code the proper way is able to start taking this liability and potentially even write it off its full cost. I mean, last year I was able to write off $50-something thousand from my business to pay myself personally. And here's the so what to that. It means I would have had to go out to get that same $50,000 in my pocket, which I did, tax-free. The equivalent would mean I would have had to go out and make like $90,000, pay the taxes to put $50,000 in my pocket. That's a lot of difference there. And I don't think people realize that some of these strategies, if we're able to start adding these things up, really have significant impacts. Jamie, talk to me a little bit. I mean, we were talking about a second ago how you were building out different entity structures and how that was helping you see things from a financial perspective better. But what other benefits are you seeing from setting those up?
Yeah, I mean, so take you back to when I was a W-2 employee, right? W-2 employee, had my real estate business. That was pretty simple. It was pretty simple to keep things separate, right? And to kind of not commingle funds like we always talk about, and I was able to, there's two things, right? There was the accounting side of keeping things separate from the business perspective, but also had that W-2 salary that I was able to go to the bank. And in real estate, you want to be bankable, right? I use bank loans for different real estate ventures to refinance homes, whatever I may be doing. And I lost that, right? I lost that last January when I decided to go self-employed, right? It was one of those small little things that I really didn't think about in the big picture. And I just feel so much better having everything properly structured now, because now I don't have to worry about commingling funds, right? My wife's 1099 self-employed. I now have multiple different streams of income coming in. Now we can consolidate it into one place, keep the business and the personal totally separate in different entities, but also through the S Corp, I can create a salary, right, that a bank likes for the financing. So it ties into that real estate side of the business as well. So for me, it's done a couple of different things. The big thing is, again, I said at the beginning of this, I've got a simple mind. I keep it simple. When I got into like major accounting and trying to separate things, who knows where stuff got lost? I know my CPA loves me for it, but the big thing is just peace of mind, knowing that at least we've separated things, and it's going to be much easier to kind of keep track of going forward.
Peace of mind. What's that worth? Right. I mean, what? How many things do we have to worry about, and trying to figure out all the different entities and where money is? If you can simplify that and it saves you taxes, bingo, right?
Win-win.
That's amazing. How about you, JD? Tell me the so what to some of the things that you were talking about a second ago.
Well, just real quick before I go into that, I'll tell you something that was super helpful for me was getting over the idea of being cheap. Okay. And what I mean is that it cost me a little bit of money to be able to implement and get access to some of these strategies. But what it cost me, I saved exponentially more than what it actually cost me. So it didn't cost me anything. It actually saved me money. And I think a lot of folks will usually look at the initial upfront capital contribution as a cost instead of as an investment. And it's not a cost. It is absolutely an investment. Let me explain. I had a really banner year last year, best year ever, right? Income actually doubled, probably more than doubled last year than it was the year before. The year before, I paid over $60,000 in taxes. It's a lot of money in taxes, okay? Last year, more than doubled that. My tax bill originally came back at $500,000. I about had a heart attack. I'm like, something is off here. My CPA, you messed up something. I spent a lot of money to get tax planning. This is not tax planning. So went back, got it down to like $190,000. And I'm like, no, not having it, right? This is not good enough for me. So after going back and forth a few times, I'm basically like a little mini CPA now. I'm kidding. I'm not actually a CPA, right? So I know this is being recorded. But I started really educating myself on how some of this stuff works. I got my taxable liability down to $30,000 because of the things that I implemented and the people that I was able to get around and the strategies that I got access to. And that is the so what's all of this, right? Is that I paid a little bit of money, which was an investment, a key investment, to be able to mitigate as much money as I have to send to Uncle Sam as possible. I don't want to send any money to him. Right. It's not patriotic to pay taxes at all. Right. And so I want to
write that down.
Right. So I want to pay the least amount possible. In fact, and I don't want to steal. Well, Russ, I'll let you finish, but I know where my tax bill went. Right. I know who got my money. Russ, who got my money?
I mean, I'm like, I didn't get all of it. I mean, I got a piece of it. I mean, you know, you were just talking about there was like 470,000 that should have came my way. They only sent me 30 of it, man. I only got 30,000.
So the 30 I sent in, they just went ahead and rerouted to Russ's bank account, right? That's tax strategy. That's tax planning right there, y'all.
Hey, look, I mean, I'm so excited for you. You're doing so well. You're having amazing success in all things. And yes, you're investing in yourself. And I just got off the phone with an attorney who is specializes in tax strategy. And he says, what person doesn't invest $50,000 and get, you know, 15 to 20,000 back and say, that was great. Keep doing it. Right. And if you showed up to a group, a mastermind or whatever, and you spent 20 grand, right? You spent 20 grand to get invested in the deal, and they showed you a way to save $5,000 or $10,000 in taxes for the year, and you could do it over and over because of the 20 grand that you spent to get in, or you spent 50 grand that showed you how to save 20,000. Like all of the things, right? There's things that we have to know. Mark Twain has a great quote. It says, it ain't the things that you don't know that get you in trouble. It's the things that you know for certain that just ain't so, right? And I think so many times we are limited by the people that we're around, the maybe our past to determine, well, yeah, that's good for JD and Jamie and Joey, but that just doesn't work for me and where I am. And they just assume that a certain thing is going to be applied to them. And as you said so well, you have to learn, you have to find different people in your life. Sometimes you have to spend the money. You have to do the work, right? None of these things are tricks. There's very few tools that will always work in every situation. We have to keep applying. We have to keep learning. This is the active part in our life to reduce taxes. And if you're doing it well, it's probably the highest wage you'll ever earn. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for being open, being willing to have a discussion around your personal finances. That's not easy. Most people don't do that. That's why we're weird, because we have these level 5 conversations all the time. And I think it's hopefully the way that you learn. Please do not take any of these ideas and just go do it just because one of us talked about us doing it. But maybe you should research some of these things. Maybe you should figure out if you should be in a group of people who are talking about these ideas. If you need to figure out if this is the group for you, then go to what'swallstreet.com/free call. And one of our coaches can help answer some of the questions you have and point you in the right direction if this is the right place for you. Thank you for listening. Have an amazing day.
This has been the Wealth Without Wall Street podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the show to break free of the Wall Street mindset and begin building wealth on your own terms in places you understand so that your wealth will never run dry. See you next episode.